Here on Idaho Today, we are celebrating National Wine Week. So we brought in our resident chef, Christina Marie, along with her little sous chef, her daughter, Sailor, and we're creating a recipe using wine. So what are we making?
Right, so today we're doing a pan-seared duck breast with a Cabernet and cherry red pan sauce. That's super quick and easy to make.
Okay, great. So we're using local wine and also cherries, which we happen to be in cherry season.
Yep.
So
Yep.
two local things. Love it. All right.
So cherry season is from April until July. And so it's really awesome to be able to utilize local produce and stuff like that. So, all right, so we have our duck breast. With the duck breast, what you want to do first is you want to kind of score the skin a little bit because duck fat is very, 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 very thick. And when it renders, you actually want to reserve that for later cooking, which I'll talk about in a second. So what you're going to want to do is preheat your pan just slightly. If you have tons of time to make the most amazing duck breast with legs, if you actually start with a cold pan, it helps render the fat a little bit better.
Okay.
So when you cut into the skin of the fat, that makes it to where the fat can slowly render into the pan instead of adding a tiny bit of oil. So we have a little bit of oil in our pan just because we are not going to stand here and watch the duck fat melt. So what you want to do is season it with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Okay.
Flip it over like that. And you want to make sure that you have enough oil in your pan.
Okay.
And what that looks like is that it's an even coating to where it doesn't actually pool in any spot like that. So that makes it to where you can get a really, really nice sear on any kind of protein that you're doing. So it applies to chicken, fish, any kind of protein. So that way you can get a nice golden brown. So I'm just gonna turn up this heat just a little bit to get it going. And then you just want to leave the pan alone until it renders. So that actually can be about 3 to 4 minutes, but you want the heat to be really, really hot. So then for the pan sauce, we're gonna do very quickly. And so what that is it's dark cherries. You can buy frozen or you can buy fresh. Then it's shallots, chicken stock, red wine, and then red wine vinegar and a little bit of butter. So what you want to look for with this is it basically kind of releases a little bit from the pan and you get a nice golden brown. So if you have a smaller duck breast, you can actually just sear it completely in the pan and finish cooking. So a lot of people don't understand the temperature and stuff like that for duck. It's very similar to steak. You want the interior to be red and pink. You don't want it to be cooked all the way through like poultry.
I was actually going to mention how dark the duck meat is, and it did remind me of a steak. So it does behave like a steak.
Yes, and for sanitation and so you don't get sick.
Yeah.
That's really, really important to understand so you don't overcook it.
Okay, great. Got it.
All right, so I'm just gonna tilt this just a little bit. So I have a duck leg and I have a duck breast. It's important to note that the legs of animals have more protein and iron in them.
Oh, really?
So they require a longer cook time. So if you want to think about it from a perspective of the most active part of the animal, that's the toughest part of the animal. Okay. So it takes a little bit longer to cook. That's why I like the duck breast, is because you can cook it instant.
Okay, got it.
So all right, so if you grab it and you gently tug and you flip it over, then it should be nice and golden on that side.
That's beautiful. And I love the note that you've given me before. You know when to turn your meat when it releases from the pan itself.
Yep, yep,
So,
exactly.
so stop trying to peek. You just want to make sure that it's going to move.
You just need to leave it alone, so that way it does that.
Which is so hard, right?
It's very, very, very hard.
Okay, all right.
All right, so anyways, once this cooks for about 2 to 3 more minutes, then you actually would just transfer this whole thing to the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes until it hits medium rare like a steak, and that's about 140 for the temperature.
Okay, so you pan sear first, get that lovely golden, then you're going to actually have the rest of the cooking happen in the oven.
Yep, but if you have a small duck breast, then you can actually just continue that for a couple more minutes and it would be finished. So this one is very small, so I would actually be able to finish that in the pan, but because I have a leg, I would need to toss it in the oven.
And then you're leaving the pan as is, so you're getting some of that duck fat in there with the oil, and that's where you're going to make this delicious sauce.
Yes, exactly. So
I see what you're doing.
Duck fat is literally liquid gold in the chef's world. So with duck fat, you actually, let me get this going. So I'm gonna add the shallots just for a second. So I like shallots because they're a little bit more mild in flavor, but the flavor distributes a little bit better than onions, so it's not too pungent in the flavor. So just wanna saute that till they get a little bit golden. Not translucent, like all your cookbooks say.
Oh, really? You want golden?
Yes.
Okay.
Golden amidst flavor profiles, which is why you want golden brown on your meat.
Okay.
So these are just some cherries. I use about a half a cup of cherries. You can add a lot more if you would like. I'm gonna saute that a little bit. Now I'm going to deglaze my pan with red wine.
I'm smelling it now.
So deglazing releases all the brown bits from the pan.
Okay.
And that goes straight into your sauce like that, all right? So I used about a quarter cup of red wine, and then now I'm gonna add about a half a cup of chicken stock, and I'm gonna crank my heat up until it gets to a nice rapid boil. That's gonna help it reduce because this is a very, very, very quick pan sauce.
Okay, got it. And the quicker it boils, the quicker it's gonna
Exactly, the quicker
thicken.
it's gonna thicken, it's gonna evaporate. So you would wanna let this go for maybe about 10 minutes, and then it thickens like that. If
Ooh,
you add
okay.
a tiny bit of cornstarch to it or a tiny bit of flour, unless you have dairy and stuff in it, then otherwise it won't do that. So once this is thickened, then you finish with a little bit of red wine vinegar, because that helps cut out some of the red wine flavor. And then you just finish with a couple pads of butter, and then it would be thicker like the sauce that we have plated right here. So with the butter, it's actually really cool. If you ever make any sort of gravies or any kind of sauces, it's called tamponade in French, and you put little pads of butter across the top of your sauce, and it prevents it from forming a skin.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Another trick. Fantastic.
Butter's amazing for everything.
Butter is amazing. I love butter, makes everything better, right?
And then a little bit of salt, and then you're done.
Okay, and then you're done. And then it thickens up to this lovely
Yes.
looking cherry, what would you do, sauce, topade?
So
Topping, what
it's
do you-
similar to a compote, the
Okay,
thickness
compote,
that you want.
yes.
And you can do it
Okay.
as thick or as thin as you want.
Okay.
It's really just personal preference, because some
All right.
people like an au jus that's
Yeah.
just drizzled on the pan, and
Okay.
some people like it really, really thick like that.
And then you have a really interesting mash here. This is not potatoes, this is parsnips, and it looks absolutely delicious, but I love how you presented it here on your finished product. You have the nice little parsnip cake, and then you got the duck on top with the cherry compote. I mean, absolutely beautiful, delicious, not too complicated. I know Sailor's here because this is something she likes to help her mom with. We so appreciate you coming and helping us celebrate Wine Week. This looks absolutely incredible.
Thank you.